Hey, I tried to get all your comments in. There's a lot of you today. Hello, good morning, morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, it's another hybrid blog today of Snow and Storm Talk. Hope you guys are doing well. Maybe you're all just Brian good. Welcome to the blog here. We'll talk about the rain setup. Some of you got quite a bit, and some of you ended up in the lower end of the spectrum. So I'll show you the map on how that played out here in just a few moments. Obviously, if you haven't been keeping up with the traffic, we've been out and about into especially Bullitt County. One of the bigger issues there is that the rainfall has been excessive there to where I-65 was completely covered over in water. I don't know if it's still closed or not on 65 north and southbound. I know the parts of Cedar Grove, which is a big cut-through road for a lot of the bigger companies there in Bullitt County, that is blocked by high water. So in Bullitt County, a low-lying area near the Salt River, still some issues there. So be careful traveling from the heavier rain that we had last night. All right. So, yes, we have a lot to cover today. So I'm not going to be able to get in too much of the weeds here on a lot of your questions today. I'll get to some of them, I promise. So make sure you're ready for a good question. But I'm hoping that I'll answer everything that's in your brain in the next few minutes. I hope, anyway. But if not, I'll try to get to some of your questions there. But it's a lot, especially in the extended, a lot of moving parts. I mean, we're rapid fire here, guys. We're going to be doing one storm after another, after another, after another. And that leaves a lot of wiggle room here for error. But at the same time, it is going to be it's going to be busy. It's going to be very important to stay close to the forecast changes. I can't stress that enough. They will keep changing and evolving as we get more confidence on how a pattern will set up. And we're gaining confidence on next week. And I'll show you what that end result is here in just a second. All right, let's get to the snowboard today. I've been and on that term here of the changes next week and the theme for next week. Still seeing that rain to snow potential, but it's still lining up toward the weekend, but it's complex. I'll explain, as always, it's complex. And then still just before Valentine's Day, it is speeding up a bit, the second wave, because they are moving so fast. I'm not seeing as much of an issue there for Valentine's Day, but maybe right before it, maybe a bit more of a concern. Well, again, cover that here in just a few moments. All right, let's get you outside. Mom, this is live into New Albany, where the wind has been gusty at times. I think once we get into some of that blue sky, you see that blue on the right-hand side of your screen? Yeah, we're about to get some sun. So as we get into that partly sunny setup, that will be some of the stronger wind gusts. Although Louisville did gust to 36 miles per hour for about 40 minutes this morning in the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock hour. So that was one of the surges of winds as we had the initial first front move in. Now we're in between low pressures. Now we got one to the east and one to the west. Now we focus on the one to the west and how it influences our weather for the rest of this Friday. And we're already seeing that change with a little bit of that blue. And the numbers are going up. We're already at 58. It's been a big climb. We were 50 maybe 90 minutes ago. So we're moving fast on the thermometer. Already close to 60s into Bardstown. When the sun comes out, we'll likely cross into the 60s at that point. But there is a caution here. We are going to drop this afternoon. So this little surge of warmth is only going to last for just a few hours here, and then we'll see a drop. So it's not going to stay warm all day today. But you'll get the idea as I show you the numbers in a second. But as I mentioned, it's been a big jump. Look at the numbers last night. We were steady in the 40s during all the rain event. As typically the case. When you're saturated, 100% saturation like that, and it's raining, the thermometer really just can't move up or down very much unless you have a strong wind change that happens. And not a lot was changing. So we stayed in the 40s, a chilly rain. And then this morning, there's that 50, 51, and then boom, 58. So, I mean, we're just in the past few moments, you will notice a difference. If you haven't stepped out in the last hour, you should notice it. All right, there's the wind. Again, surging right where the sun is coming out, just west of us. We don't have any values yet from this area, but the modeling is seeing that, or at least the ASOS airport sites are seeing that. That's why that's colored in. But we should see those gusts ramp up. Should be easily around 30 miles per hour for a brief moment before we drop again. All right, so let's show you what it looks like from space. Oh, let me get to the rain totals. Yes. Now, here's the thing. Some of the gauges here in Indiana, they do reset during the midnight period. So it doesn't account really for the rain before midnight. It's a long story on that. But the ones around Louisville and Kentucky are true totals of the event. So, but still, it's worth mentioning those of you in Indiana did underperform all the way towards Cincinnati on the lower end of the spectrum on some of those totals there. The band of heavier rain was a little more focused to the south. Our in-house model actually did better than the HER did in many cases on this setup. But Louisville, right around 1.21 looks to be our official total. I got about a little over 1.5 inches at my house and over 2 inches in Bullitt County, and getting close to the 3-inch mark there into central Kentucky. And that's where we had several flood advisories that were issued. Flood warnings are out for the Green River, Rough River area. So if you live in that area, the water is going up. And in Cincinnati, they have issued at least an action stage potential on the Ohio River. So we'll be watching for downstream effects that the Ohio may rise. The water in central Kentucky does not drain. The basin here is not really an Ohio River type of basin. So overall, it'll be just really the Green River and Rough River. The Ohio will be really based on what happens more upstream, of course. Okay, enough on that. Let's get right into what's happening now. We do have some showers just on the leading edge. It's more drizzle lining up right ahead of where you are in between systems. And that's mainly around Fern Creek all the way into, say, Eminence, Newcastle, Kentucky, all the way down to Horse Cave, Kentucky, Mumfordville. You've got a little band of showers moving east. Then you get into that clearing. Now, see right here, there's a surge that happens. This is where we could get at least some showers that may try to redevelop this morning on the eastern side of the area before they head east. And there is a signal that could even develop lightning with them. Nothing severe, but you could get some lightning if this were to enhance, and I'll be watching this to see if it does, but there is some potential that we could get some development there in our southeast counties as we hit through the midday hour before this moves more eastbound. Then we get ready for the low pressure to our west. Still some potential to get some thunderstorms to develop on the leading edge here as this heads east ahead of that low this afternoon. I still think it's going to be right on the fringe of wave country the way it's looking right now. More of an issue for the Jackson, Kentucky Weather Service to deal with that for the I-75 corridor. A little more likely there. But we will get at least some potential for an isolated storm on the leading edge of that. Then we got to deal with the backlash showers that will also swing in here, and that will be this evening. that we will see that take place, and that will be responsible for the temperature drop too as we head into this afternoon. All right, you see that little bubble of warm air again, with temperatures likely getting over 60 here very soon. So let me show you our in-house model. We'll go with that. And it does account for at least a little bit of the surge East Kentucky. And then there we go. There's the thunderstorm potential that pops in pretty late this afternoon. It's like a 4 to 6 p.m. window before they really have a chance to develop. Could get some small hail out of some of these and some gusty winds, but right now the severe risk does look low. There are a lot of dry pockets in through it, which can allow for gusty winds, but it's so much dry air that overall the cumulonimbus that will try to form will have a limit to them. They may only get to about 25,000 feet, maybe up to 30,000. And typically you get into the 40,000 foot range. That's when we start looking at warnings. So they should stay below that, but we'll still watch it as they pop this afternoon in case one or two do get on the gustier side. Otherwise, the temperature drop will start to commence this afternoon, and then we'll get a little chance of showers as we enter this evening before it dries out and turns colder for tonight. We get into Saturday. Now, it's all about cloud cover. As long as the clouds clear out and we don't have a lot of fog issues or anything develop, then we should be able to enjoy a sunny but a cooler day in the mid-40s. If the clouds linger longer or we were to get some fog that can develop, we may end up on the lower end of the numbers, especially in central Kentucky. You may not get much above 40. So no doubt tomorrow will be a chillier day, but some of you will get some bonus sunshine, others will not. If you're in Indiana, your odds are a little higher. As that moves out, look how the clouds reverse and just flip around. That's the flow of the wind moving around again on a Saturday night into Sunday, allowing for a jump back into the 60s again on Sunday and some gusty winds, but dry. I don't see any issues at all really for the weekend. Our main challenge is really just balancing the cloud cover out, the wind field, because winds will be around 30 miles per hour on Sunday. So it will be a windy second half of the weekend. But in general, quiet, just topsy-turvy a little bit on temperature there. Okay, looking ahead, as we head into late Sunday night and Monday, it looks to be a milder night, and right now Monday is trending to be a warmer day for us with temperatures getting still into the mid-60s. Okay, any questions I can answer on the short term and the weekend? Not the long term, short term and the weekend. I got my vacation shirt on. What? This is flowers, isn't it? I'm not going to the beach. Well, I don't know where I'm going. It could be Mount Washington. It could be New Albany. All right. Either way, this is appropriate for both. Michelle, it feels amazing outside. Yeah, this nice little jump in warmth is nice. Try to soak it up. If not, wait until Sunday. Let's see. Melting the snow, a little bit of fog out there. Yeah, that fog is, if you got a little bit of snow bank in your area because of the drizzle and the low clouds, you probably got a little bit of fog that has been forming in that area. And a cold ground, not to mention, trying to warm it up on top of a warm ground does lead to that. Snow in the weather garden, I think maybe entirely gone. I mean, what is it, 26 days that we have had snow out there in the weather garden? I think today may be the final day of that. Pretty wild. Been a long stretch there. Okay, everybody seems okay. Good. All right, here's the deal. We have the potential to get into the 70s as we get into next week. Potential is there for strong thunderstorms and even some snow. I'm going to go into more detail on that coming up here. Take a quick little break. I'll be back coming up in just a little bit. All right, so hang tight. About 30 seconds, guys. All right, so focus for next week. Again, warm weather with some wintry weather at the very end of that, but I think we need to focus on the warmer elements for now as we evolve into next week. So I am going to go back now to showing you the models because they're actually in much better agreement, at least on the good chunk of early to mid next week, and then they kind of deviate toward next weekend. But I can show you enough data to kind of give you an idea of what this is looking like, so I don't have to draw as much today, thank goodness. I mean, it's Friday. I don't want to draw too much, right? All right. So we covered the weekend. Monday and Tuesday do look warm. Cannot rule out a trend toward drizzle that could develop because we're going to be close to the boundary level here of the warmer air and the cooler weather to the north. There's still some hints that is possible, but right now I think that's going to be a very minor issue. I'm not worried about that. But warmer weather for sure coming into play. But then we jump up. As we head into Wednesday, potential to get into the 70s is certainly on the table. It will be windy outside. Likely will be a warm front that will move in as we head into Wednesday. Now, the question will be when that warm front moves in, this little ripple moving through, will we get a potential for some thunderstorms that could develop with that on Wednesday? Good question. Right now, we are accounting for at least some thunderstorm potential for Wednesday, and we'll monitor that. But I think the action is going to be a little closer to the wave that is moving in across the Midwest, but it could allow for at least some thunderstorm potential as it moves on by here as we head into Wednesday itself. But it's a 1-2 punch. It's looking more and more likely we're going to have two different low pressures move in. One with a bump of temperatures there, and a second one that's going to roll in right in behind it that will likely then allow for another band of rain and thunderstorms for Thursday. Another bonus day of warmth mixed into that, and then we see the temperature drop commence. So the 1-2 punch for Wednesday and Thursday, with that being so active, the wind is just general wind, gradient wind is going to be up there. So we need to watch that. Again, a warm scenario. We could end up with a low temperature not far from 60, a low temperature one of these nights. Wouldn't rule it out because the dew points do get up there in the 60s. And then we deal with the colder side of thunderstorms ending. And then we got another wave that is slowing down a bit for the weekend. And this is where it gets a little questionable on the rain to snow potential, but it's still there. It just, we could get back to a bubble of warmth on Saturday, maybe some thunder with that before we see the drops Saturday night into Sunday with maybe a rain to snow kind of ordeal. But that looks minor. I don't see anything significant with that right now. It looks to be moving so fast. And we're going to be quite warm, as I'd alluded to before the system. So now we're back in that whole discussion of warm ground and melting and yada, yada, yada. Snow lovers hate when we talk about that, but that's what we're talking about here with this one. So that's the reason why I'm not too worried about it. But it's the wave that is just beyond the Euro that is more interesting. And it will actually develop. You see the hint of it here in Texas. It will develop with the rain snow line to our south. So when this develops, things get a little more interesting. And that will be just at the very end of the long range share as you head into just before Valentine's Day, early that week. I will be back for that one. So it probably will be snow, maybe. Sometimes I jinx you all, right? All right, looking at your severe potential, let me show you this full screen. This is CSU, the learning module for next week. Notice it does have us in the outlook, at least part of the area, up along the north of 64 for Wednesday. It's a little closer to that low. And then the potential is there, but lower end for Thursday. Yeah, good potential that we're going to have alert days out for the wind and thunderstorm potential on this for Wednesday and or Thursday. All right, it could be both days, could be just one. We're going to work on that data and analysis here for the midday period, and we'll let you know. But just kind of a heads up, that's likely where we're trending there for that. All right. On the colder side of this whole idea, here is the matrix from the Euro, and it's still on board, but it's trying to focus in more on the 12th. You see that there's more filling in around that period up and down on the column. That's what you need to look for, is up and down. You want to fill in all the lines here on a particular date. But they're not all filled in yet, but they're still there, and it is noisy. So I think with that noisy signal, it's worth watching, and still got some of those blues and pinks showing up. So yeah, there could be, a decent snow out of whatever develops. I just don't know if it's going to be here or not, but it's certainly, that potential is on the table because these will have a lot of moisture content with them. And that is, that could be a big game player in the whole outlook, but that's pretty far out, right? It's very end of the matrix there. So a lot of warm air and nothing in the short term on that. Okay. Once we get later into February, I went ahead and decided, I'm going to talk to you about the long term because, it's about to head out for a week, but there are signs of stratospheric warming taking place as we get into the second week of February, not only in temperature, but on wind. So it looks like we will get another displacement of the polar vortex to kind of swing around. But where would that be? Well, when we look at the long range here and get into the month of February, look right there at the last couple of frames around the 10th. You start to see the beginning signs, what we call the cross-polar flow that tries to develop. My only issue with this is that some of the data wants to wrap this up into a stronger polar vortex and lock it in again before it shifts around to a different area of the country that wouldn't be toward us. So it's not a guarantee, even though I'm talking about the potential that we could get another displacement here or a strong stretching or cross-polar flow, which is possible. I don't know yet if it's going to aim right into our area or not, but it could. And no, it's not going to be like what we had earlier in January. All right, we're going to be much into later season, a higher sun angle. So this would only just mean that we get a little more of the wintry component of the storm systems rolling in than we have been and will be for next week. I hope that makes sense. But that's a long-term issue. We'll see if that data holds. Let's get into the 10-day. Here we go. It's an interesting 10-day, right? We got temperatures in the 60s briefly here for the next few hours. Tomorrow, there's the cooler weather. There's the warm weather for the groundhog off or about Punxsutawney Phil. Well, we'll see what he says later. 65 on Monday. Look at that. 70 for a couple of days, but with some active weather for Wednesday and Thursday with rain and thunderstorm potential on the table before we chill back down again toward the weekend and Super Bowl weekend at that. All right. So there you go. Any questions? Adam, straight line wind. Too early to know. I think it's still a positive tilt. So my gut feeling on that right now on paper, yeah, that's more of an issue than anything major. I don't see anything major, to be clear. It looks like a hail and wind type of setup right now, not exactly a tornado type of outbreak. Okay, so but we don't know all those details till we get closer. We got to figure out still the angle. If it slows down a bit, do we get a little more of a different tilt than we see on paper now? That has to be worked out. But right now, looking at the data, dew points are there, wind fields are there, warmth is there. Instability, not overly high, but this time of the year, it's a cold season, severe weather potential, so you don't need as much. So that's the reason why we got to pay a little more attention to it than we would in the summertime. The values in the summer with this kind of data would not fly and would not be a concern. But at this time of the year, we got to watch it. All right. Let's see. Todd, are the models showing much warmer for February? Not exactly warmer overall. It's just dramatic spikes. I mean, if I were to extend this out and show you more of the data from the Euro, it would show highs in the 20s for a couple of days after being in the 70s. So, and that would be later in February. So there are some big drops showing up, but they don't last, which is normal. The reverse keeps happening. And you see this hint, and I'm trying to stress this as much as I can, that you're going to see these dramatic ups and downs like this a little more into the month. And that's going to lead to bigger storm systems that have all the elements at play. And I can't also stress the margin of error is high. It is really high. So we're trying our best to give you, a good stab at the data here, but also throwing some caution to the wind. But I think you guys, you've been watching the blog for a while. That's how things roll here, right? Let's see. Everyone good? All right. Everyone is good. All right. I appreciate you all. I will be on midday today at 3 o'clock. We'll see how this wind event and isolated thunderstorm potential plays out today. So make sure to tune in for that. And then obviously Carson will get you through the weekend. If there's any changes in the longer term, as always, he's got you ready for the streams as well. All right. Otherwise, you guys be good. And I will see you all coming up in about a week from now. All right. I hope you guys have quiet weather. All right. Let's try to work on that. But I will see you guys soon. Behave yourselves. See you on the flip side.